Greetings to all. Welcome to CEC lecture. The topic for the lecture is Nelson Mandela International Day. In this lecture, we shall highlight important aspects from the life of the legendary leader Nelson Mandela. In this lecture, we shall also discuss the importance of ideals of Mahatma Gandhi ji on life of Nelson Mandela. Further, this lecture shall also highlight the significance of the Gandhian philosophy for the world at large in contemporary times. Nelson Mandela was born in Transkei, South Africa on 18 July 1918. In 1944, Nelson Mandela joined the African National Congress Party, and later he became the leader in a number of peaceful protests. From 1964 to 1982, Nelson Mandela was imprisoned in Robben Island, Cape Town in South Africa for leading the liberation movement. In 1990, he was released from imprisonment and contributed towards multiracial democracy in South Africa. In 1994, due to his efforts, he was elected as the President of South Africa. Till 1919, Nelson Mandela remained the President in the office. In 1993, he won the Nobel Peace Prize together with another former South African President, Frederick William de Klerk. Nelson Mandela died in 2013. Nelson Mandela, the anti-apartheid icon, the legend. Nelson Mandela spent 28 years in prison for fighting white rule before leading South Africa to multiracial democracy as the country's first black president in 1994. On 18 July 2019, the first Mandela Day was launched in New York. The United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution on 10th November 2009 declaring 18 July as Nelson Mandela Day. The important ideas of Nelson Mandela that have always guided humanity, that has always guided the world, that is, history will judge us by the difference we make in everyday lives of children. Further, the ideas of Nelson Mandela, it is always seems impossible until it's done. Further, money won't create success. The freedom to make it will. The important ideas of Nelson Mandela have always inspired humanity. These ideas are of timeless significance. Nelson Mandela also said, education is the most powerful weapon with which you can change the world. In the same line, Mahatma Gandhi ji also guided humanity with the same power of courage and conviction. Mahatma Gandhi ji's famous words, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." Further, Mahatma Gandhi ji's belief in truth, satya and ahimsa, that is, an ounce of patience is worth more than a ton of preaching, and that in a gentle way you can shake the world. Now, when we try to understand the important link between Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi ji is that Nelson Mandela referred to Mahatma Gandhi ji as his role model. And an important idea in the ideology of Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhiji is that they both emphasized on moral power, and that both were lawyers who spent time in jail in Johannesburg Old Fort Prison. Gandhiji in 1906 and Mandela in 1962. Further, it is very important to understand that Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhiji never met, but both were inspirational world leaders and both had a connection with South Africa. Mahatma Gandhiji lived in South Africa from 1893 to 1914, where he was an active political activist. Mahatma Gandhiji's idea of Satyagraha left a deep impact on Nelson Mandela during his struggle to fight against apartheid. Quoting from the important inputs that we got from mkgandhi.org, that is, Satyagraha meant the exercise of purest soul force against all injustice, oppression and exploitation. Satyagraha is an inherent birthright of a person and can also be a sacred duty. Suffering and trust are attributes of soul force. To quote the important words from Mahatma Gandhiji, that is, a Satyagrahi obeys the laws of the society intelligently and of his own free will, because he considers it to be his sacred duty to do so. It is only when a person has thus obeyed the laws of society scrupulously that he is in a position to judge as to what particular rules are good and just and which are unjust and iniquitous, and only then does the right accrue to him of the civil disobedience of certain laws in well-defined circumstances. Now, there are different forms of Satyagraha when we understand the life and ideology of Mahatma Gandhiji. First, non-cooperation with the evildoer, and in a active form, civil disobedience of laws of the government. The concept of Satyagraha was first devised by Mahatma Gandhiji not in India, but while living amongst Indian inhabitants in South Africa in 1907, where he organized an opposition to the Asiatic registration law, also called the Black Act. It took 7 years of protest and the Black Act was finally repealed in June 1914. Mahatma Gandhiji proved then that perseverance, working with the community, and most important, non-violence, and that a non-violent movement is very useful. All these are very useful to achieve the desired goal. For Mahatma Gandhiji, Satyagraha was not just a means of non-violent struggle, but it was essential to his philosophy of life. By giving the concept of Satyagraha, Mahatma Gandhiji showed to humanity to win over their greed, the fear, by power of soul force, by love. In this principle of non-violence, Mahatma Gandhiji also introduced the technique of resistance to evil and untruth by the power of soul force. That is, his Satyagraha, when we try to understand Mahatma Gandhiji's Satyagraha, it was inspired by boundless love and compassion. It is opposed to the sin, not sinner. It is opposed to the evil, not evildoer. Many countries have witnessed popular movements for freedom, equality, free movements for peace, which have drawn inspiration from the life and methods of Mahatma Gandhi ji. Let's take an important report right now of a very important occasion. The report that we read at Reuters, the report is by Nita Bhalla, that is Mandela calls for Gandhi's non-violence approach, 29 January 2007, and this report, while we were doing the research for the lecture, is available where we tried to get it from the Reuters news agency. And what was the occasion? The occasion was the 88-year-old statesman Nelson Mandela in the year 2007 was addressing a conference through a satellite link from South Africa to mark the centenary of Gandhiji's Satyagraha or non-violent movement, which began in Johannesburg on September 11, 1906, where Mahatma Gandhiji was practicing law. Nelson Mandela pointed out in this address, and we quote from his remarks, Gandhiji's non-violent approach, which won India freedom from British colonial rule 60 years ago, was an inspiration. His philosophy contributed in no small measure to bringing about a peaceful transformation in South Africa and in healing the destructive human divisions that had been spawned by the abhorrent practice of apartheid. Nelson Mandela in his remarks referred Mahatma Gandhi ji as the sacred warrior. Quoting further, Mahatma combined ethics and morality with a steady resolve that refused to compromise with the oppressor. Further, in a world driven by violence and strife, Gandhi's message of peace and non-violence holds the key to human survival in 21st century. Further, he rightly believed in the efficacy of pitting the sole force of Satyagraha against the brute force of the oppressor and in effect converting the oppressor to right and moral path. The efficacy of pitting the sole force of the Satyagraha against the brute force of the oppressor and in effect converting the oppressor to the right and moral path. After this 2007 occasion, we also really need to understand this important remarks of Nelson Mandela in his address calling Mahatma Gandhi ji as the sacred warrior while addressing this important occasion of the centenary of Gandhi's Satyagraha or non-violent movement which began in Johannesburg on September 11, 1906, and in this address, Nelson Mandela pointing out that Gandhi's non-violent approach has been an inspiration and referring to Mahatma Gandhi ji as the sacred warrior that combined ethics and morality with a stiffly resolve that refused to compromise with the oppressor. Now moving forward towards an important aspect when we try to understand the towering significance of ideals of Mahatma Gandhi ji for not only Nelson Mandela but as for the world at large. We take reference to the important talk that happened in the United Nations in 2019, wherein when we take important aspects from Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's tributes to Mahatma Gandhi in a talk relevance of Mahatma Gandhi in the contemporary world. Now, this event was held at United Nations. This event celebrated Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary, and it also marked the synergy between the Gandhian values and vision of United Nations. Once again, at this hour, we will be quoting important inputs from the full text of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's speech at the United Nations. Quoting from the full text of PM Modi's speech at United Nations, Mahatma Gandhi was Indian, but he belonged not just to India. Today, this platform is a living example of this. The people whom Gandhiji never met were also greatly influenced by his life. Whether it was Martin Luther King Jr. or Nelson Mandela, the basis of their ideas was Mahatma Gandhi and Gandhiji's vision. Mahatma Gandhi had emphasized on the real power of democracy. He showed the direction in which people should not depend on governance and become self-reliant. This vision of Mahatma Gandhi is becoming a great medium to solve big challenges facing India today. Further, quoting from PM's text speech, in the last 5 years, we have prioritized public participation, be it Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Digital India. People are now leading these campaigns themselves. And that, the important remarks from the speech, Mahatma Gandhi never tried to make an impact from his life, but his life became the cause of inspiration. Today, we are living in this era of how to impress, but Gandhiji's vision was how to inspire. So, this shows that how the life of Mahatma Gandhiji, which inspired millions of people and even people whom he did not meet. And Nelson Mandela never met Mahatma Gandhi ji, but was deeply inspired by his idea of truth, non-violence, ahimsa. This commitment to principles drew Mahatma Gandhiji's attention towards 7 distortions. Once again, going back to the PM speech input, that everyone should be aware of. And all these 7 things are still relevant and will be relevant in times to come. Now, what are these 7 things? Those 7 principles are wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, business without ethics, science without humanity, religion without sacrifice, and politics without principle. So therefore, the important remarks that India made at United Nations in the year 2019, that is, whether it is climate change or terrorism, corruption or selfish social life, these principles of Mahatma Gandhi act as a guide to protect humanity, namely wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, business without ethics, science without humanity, religion without sacrifice, and politics without principle. So therefore, it is very essential to understand that as we discuss Nelson Mandela Day, the day observed every year on 18 July, This day is no doubt very significant with respect to understanding the legacy of Nelson Mandela and also understanding the important contributions Nelson Mandela made towards not only being as the anti-apartheid icon but also establishing the first multiracial democracy in the country, in South Africa. And most important, his contributions towards world peace, for which he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. It is very essential to understand that is Nelson Mandela continues to be an inspiration for the entire world. Even today, people cherish his legacy, fondly remember his contribution to promotion of peace and social justice, and at the same time, people often revisit that how Nelson Mandela's legacy, his action, his ideas were inspired by the ideals and vision of Mahatma Gandhi ji. Every year, Nelson Mandela International Day is observed with a specific theme. For the year 2022, the theme of Nelson Mandela International Day is "Do what you can and what you have where you are." For the year 2021, the theme of Nelson Mandela International Day was "One hand can feed another." So therefore, as we revisit the legacy of Nelson Mandela with respect to ensuring a just and fair society for all, it is very essential to understand the significance, the impact that vision of Mahatma Gandhi ji had on his life with respect to promotion of peace and social justice. It's very essential at the same time to also understand the contribution of the Gandhian legacy with respect to the bigger aspect of world governance in present times. Now, as Nelson Mandela said, history will judge us by the difference we make in the everyday lives of children, or that what Mahatma Gandhi ji said, be the change that you wish to see in the world. Nelson Mandela referred to Mahatma Gandhi ji as his role model, and both these icons of peace and social justice, both these icons of humanity emphasized on moral power. And the idea of moral power, that is the message of Satyagraha, that not only left a deep impact on Nelson Mandela during his struggle to fight apartheid, but the ideal of Satyagraha, truth, non-violence that Mahatma Gandhi ji presented are of huge significance for the world governance, from fighting climate change to combating terrorism to combating various forms of issues concerning global governance. So therefore, as we celebrate the legacy of Nelson Mandela every year on 18 July, let us amplify all ideas and supports with respect to the idea of justice, with respect to the idea of peace, reconciliation, truth and non-violence. It is very essential to understand that how when we try to revisit the legacy of Nelson Mandela, it is also very essential to keep our pledge towards Gandhian non-violent approach, which Nelson Mandela also himself said that this philosophy contributed in no small measure to bring about a very important peaceful transformation in South Africa and also in healing the destructive human divisions. Nelson Mandela referred to Mahatma Gandhi ji as the sacred warrior. They never met, but most important of that, irrespective of that, Nelson Mandela was inspired with the way Mahatma Gandhi ji's ethics and morality were used in a manner to work for truth on the path of non-violence, and it refused to compromise with the oppressor. So therefore, it is very essential that we must cherish this legacy. We must be the change to work out, to be the voice and be the support for truth, for justice, for solidarity, for unity, and above all, use these visions of the great icons to be the important platform to work out problems, to solve and resolve important issues facing world today. Dear learners, we hope that the lecture on Nelson Mandela International Day, presented to you significant inputs and insights. So let's amplify all support, let's amplify all solidarity with the legacy of Nelson Mandela as we observe Nelson Mandela International Day. We look forward to positive, encouraging feedback from you all. Thank you very much.